champion is by the time Sting reascends in WWE, or is it going to be someone like Bray Wyatt? A lot of people feel that way because of what happened in Bray Wyatt and Undertaker's match this year at WrestleMania with Bray Wyatt losing, and Bray Wyatt hasn't been given a big opponent since. He had a feud with Ryback that went nowhere, and Bray Wyatt, in my opinion, is just kind of there now, kind of filling in, kind of being the put-over person for someone who was the number one contender for the championship, which is really unfortunate because by October of 2013, if you know anything about me, back then I predicted that Bray Wyatt was going to be champion at that point. That was never followed through with. But it seemed like they were trying to do something with Bray Wyatt, putting him in that feud with Dean Ambrose and then having him feud with The Undertaker by WrestleMania 31. It seemed like they were really going to run with the idea of Bray Wyatt being the new face of fear in WWE, and he could still be the new face of fear if this match between Sting and himself happens. Another big thing that I'm looking forward to, if it does happen in this prediction by wrestling fans, with the graphic of the match, what would happen if the graphic was ever put together, what it would look like. I've seen that visual, and I'm using one of the visuals actually for the graphic for our YouTube video at Jonathan Clarke 22, which I will be archiving for you. I've seen the graphics, I've seen the written columns, I've heard your opinions on various radio shows, and I concur with your opinions because this would be a great match. One of the things I'm looking forward to in this feud would be the exemplification of wrestling psychology, which would be a big factor to how this match gets over, just as it would for Sting versus The Undertaker next year at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. We have Bray Wyatt with his lantern, Sting with his bat, how Sting makes the lights go out, how Bray Wyatt has his followers with cell phones wearing out their cell phone batteries every time Bray Wyatt makes his entrance or cuts a promo in the ring. And can you imagine the wrestling psychology we would see if we saw Sting versus Bray Wyatt if it came down to that? That would be great. I think the ratings would explode for WWE programming. The subscribers on the network would definitely increase. And we'd have a lot of people subscribing to pay-per-views on digital cable and satellite subscriptions. So I think the WWE definitely would benefit from Sting versus Bray Wyatt. Now, this match may not have a WrestleMania feel to it, but it could happen as early as this year's SummerSlam, because Sting did say in his promo following WrestleMania and its fallout that he was going to reach out and grab anything WWE threw his way. He just didn't know what that was going to be. Fans were chanting Undertaker. They ignored the chance of Undertaker, obviously kayfabing the fact the Undertaker versus Sting is going to happen at some point, and if it doesn't, we're just going to have to wait and find out who Sting's next opponent is. Now, when Bray Wyatt started dropping promos in the follow to WrestleMania 31, I was thinking to myself, could he be re-challenging The Undertaker to a rematch? Could we possibly see The Undertaker more than once this year? Obviously, we have to wait till next year to see The Undertaker because he didn't show up on television at all. He was just there through special effects and promos that were pre-recorded. He showed up at WrestleMania, ran through Bray Wyatt in all of 15 minutes, and we haven't seen him since, and we're obviously not going to be seeing The Undertaker till next year's WrestleMania. So who's going to be Bray Wyatt or Sting's next opponent? Obviously, both of them are going to go one-on-one. They're heading for a collision course, and I want your opinion on this match, who you think would win. After everything that was done with Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose's rivalry, and the rivalry between The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt, the way that went, what's your opinion on this match, and who do you think would win this dream match between Sting and Bray Wyatt? That would actually be an interesting poll. I'll have to throw up on our website and throw out to you on social media because I'd love to know what the results of this one would be myself. We have seen so many dream matches come into fruition over the years too. We've seen The Rock and John Cena. We've seen Sting and Triple H. But we have never seen a match the caliber of Sting versus Bray Wyatt, and I think that if it's going to happen, it needs to happen as early as SummerSlam, because I bring up the situation of how it really doesn't present a WrestleMania feel to it or have a WrestleMania feel to it. It's just the psychology of both their characters. They're both creepy. Nobody knows what they're going to do. They could do anything at any given moment, and I think it would just be awesome seeing wrestling psychology at its finest in this feud. I've talked about some of the greatest wrestling psychologists over the years, like Jake the Snake Roberts and The Undertaker and Sting. So what you do is you put two great wrestling psychologists in the ring together, and you have a great feud because of it. And I think that this match between Sting and Bray Wyatt would definitely brew a great feud, and we'd probably see more than one match between these two. This could go a number of matches, and we could see one of the greatest rivalries ever if this match ever happens. And I wrote about it for In This Corner with Jonathan Clarke. I said, it may not present a WrestleMania feel at all, but it's definitely a match that people have talked about, and it's a match worth seeing. Now, I wouldn't really pay top dollar to see this match. I wouldn't pay $70 or $80 for a pay-per-view. I wouldn't fork out that much just to see Sting versus Bray Wyatt, especially if it was going to be one of those one-time deal things in WWE just to give us a chance to see another dream match, because we've seen virtually every dream match in the past over the years. We've seen Goldberg and The Rock and John Cena, Sting and Triple H. Every dream match that we could have possibly seen over the last decade has come into fruition, but this is one dream match that's been talked about for the better part of, I'd say, the last half of a year that hasn't come into fruition. And with how every dream match we have seen seen over the years virtually happen that's been talked about, with the exception of a few, like this one, The Undertaker and Sting, matches like Bret Hart versus The Rock, CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. There were only a handful of dream matches we haven't seen. So I think WWE can make an exception and give us this match earlier than just next year's WrestleMania, because wrestling fans need something. They need to be given a reason to watch the product. And I think wrestling fans are searching now for a reason more than they ever have to watch the product, with how dry the product has been, especially in the fallout of WrestleMania 31. I mean, what happened in the fallout of this year's WrestleMania? There was no big return like we've got in years prior after WrestleMania, with Brock Lesnar and Mick Foley back in 1996 as the Mankind character. There was no big debut. There was no big match in the fallout of WrestleMania. The biggest thing that happened, if you can remember and refer yourself back to when WrestleMania 31 had its fallout, was Brock Lesnar being suspended. Nothing really big happened in the fall of this year's WrestleMania, and it really disappointed me because I was looking for something critical to happen in the fallout. I was hoping, at least in the fallout of Sting losing to Triple H, Sting was either going to challenge the champion for SummerSlam, or say he was going to face whoever the champion was when he returned, or someone else was going to challenge Sting. And the biggest thing that he did was he gave the Scorpion Death Drop to Bo Dallas on the network. And the thing about Sting's promo is it was exclusively given to us on the network. It wasn't given to us on Monday Night Raw. And I was wondering, what was going on there? The biggest thing that happened also during his promo on the network was how they ignored the chants of The Undertaker. And I really think with how Jerry Lawler was the only one to bring up the chants of Undertaker, saying, "Do you hear that, Byron?" I think that match is definitely brewing for next year's WrestleMania. So with that match set for next year's WrestleMania, where does this leave Sting now with no opponent? So give him an opponent in Bray Wyatt. I think only great things can come of Bray Wyatt versus Sting. Now, my prediction, I'm going to throw it out there and say that Sting is going to win against whoever he faces next in WWE, whether it be Bray Wyatt or it be somebody else. And because I believe Sting is going to win against whoever he faces next, if it is in fact Bray Wyatt, then I'm picking Sting over Wyatt in this match, because it seems like Bray Wyatt has become the put-over guy, as I said here just a few minutes ago on this video blog, for people like Roman Reigns, who are up for the championship now at Money in the Bank for Seth Rollins' championship. He's become a put-over guy, which I really am depressed over and really disappointed in Bray Wyatt for being, because by October of 2013, which was fucking 2 years ago, I thought that Bray Wyatt would have been champion, especially with his feuds with Dean Ambrose and The Undertaker being absolutely magnificent feuds for events like WrestleMania. I thought they were really going to do something with Bray Wyatt. I looked at Bray Wyatt as being one of those few characters I was going to give the benefit of the doubt to, make an exception for, and say that he was actually going to have something done with his character. And in the fallout of matches with Dean Ambrose, that he actually got the better of Dean Ambrose in the ambulance match, I think on the first Raw of 2015, really set things in motion for Bray Wyatt. And then losing to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31 after being put over so phenomenally by The Undertaker. The Undertaker had created Bray Wyatt and set things up for Bray Wyatt to have an amazing year in 2015. Not saying that he still can have an amazing year, because we're not even past the halfway point of the year. We're about 2 weeks away from the halfway point of the year and getting to that point. And if Bray Wyatt hasn't got anything going for him by the halfway point of the year, then I'm just going to be continuously disappointed by Bray Wyatt, because I had so many high hopes and premonitions for Bray Wyatt. I really thought he was going to be at least a two-time champion, or at least an Intercontinental champion, or a King of the Ring, and nothing was following through with in predictions that I threw your way about Bray Wyatt. And I was really depressed over that because Bray Wyatt was one of my top 5 favorites on my list. Wrestlers that I thought was really going to have something done with their characters, especially with how we don't see Sting, Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker all the time. People like Bray Wyatt really are there to pick up the slack. And nothing was done with his character after these amazing rivalries with Dean Ambrose and The Undertaker, and I was really disappointed about that. And still nothing has been done with Sting's character. And we might not see Sting until next year's WrestleMania if he doesn't show up as early as SummerSlam and feud with either Seth Rollins or someone like Bray Wyatt. I'd go for it, just as an excuse even, just to see Sting, because I have been carrying the torch for Sting's character in WWE ever since Sting first appeared on the scene. Nobody ever thought Sting would show up in WWE, and I highly believe Sting signed on just for the sole purpose of coming in to lose to Triple H, just so WWE could get one over against WCW. I don't know why WWE couldn't make an exception and give Sting the win, especially with how they bought out WCW in 2001 and how things went for that franchise when they were ahead in the war of 86 weeks with WWE. The ratings were the Monday Night War, as it was named. Sting and The Undertaker remained true to their respective brands, and you thought that WWE would have actually given Sting the benefit of the doubt with how they treated WCW in 2001 involved with the purchasing of the company for the video library and their video footage, but obviously they just wanted to get one over again on WCW for the first time in 14 years. And Triple H was that guy, putting himself in that position, along with influence from Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, who concurred with Triple H's decision. Obviously, Steve Borden had to have been pissed off over having to lose out of Triple H, because I know if I were in Sting's position, I wouldn't have agreed to sign on to the match, especially if I knew I was going to come out on the losing end of things. So you better believe Sting has something in his contract that he's hanging around for, and going to be hanging around for a substantial amount of time. He said he was going to reach out and grab whatever WWE had to throw his way, and that's something that we have to hold on to. That's what Sting gave us in the fall of the WrestleMania 31. He gave us something to hold on to, and he let us know that we had not seen the last of the vigilant Sting. And I think that really what we're going to be seeing here from Sting is bigger things than what we saw at WrestleMania 31. Because to be honest with you, Sting and Triple H's match was really not something that it lived up to the hype for. And I think that because it let us down in more ways than one, with the involvement of DX and the NWO, with so many people from the 90s being involved that didn't need to be involved, from Hulk Hogan to Shawn Michaels kicking Sting in the face the way that they did, the utilization of the sledgehammer. I mean, they may have went a little bit too far with it. It's just them running over Sting, in my opinion, a character that had established himself for various promotions like TNA and WCW on the independent level, coming to the big time for the first time in 14 years, something we never thought would happen. It was just a way of them running over Sting like a steamroller, and there was really no need of it. That's why I've been so pissed off about Triple H and his direction for WWE, and why I've been targeting Triple H in all my YouTube videos seemingly over the last couple of weeks. That's all I've been doing in the fall of WrestleMania.